in what has become one of the most highly contested rivalries in all of the state. It's Barnstable week here at Bridgewater-Raynham High School once again in week 7 of our ESPNBoston.com high schools preview. As always, I'm Scott Barboza, joined by Brendan Hall. Brendan, how's it going this week?
Not bad, not bad. It feels like, technically we're mid-season here, but it feels like we've been on a run since about, July, June. We've been just, flying all over the place. I'm having fun, but man, the intensity just picked up this week, didn't it?
Yeah. We're 2 weeks away now from the beginning of playoff time. It's going to be really critical games here coming up. Of course, this one, we'll get into it big time here in just a moment. Of course, we'll have our Week 7 picks coming up. And then edition number 2 of the B Illustrated, the wildly successful. We're going to bring it back with a vengeance here. But, of course, a reminder, folks, that this segment is brought to you by our good friends at Sports Authority and the Bay State Games. Sports Authority, all things sporting good, are proud supporters of the Bay State Games, the state's largest amateur athletic festival. Now, Brennan, we'll get into the breakdown here in just a moment. But, man, this has really become, we saw it play out here last year. Obviously, with the playoff system, the intensity is going to remain the same here. But this has really just been a win-or-go-home kind of game for both of these teams in recent memory.
Yeah. It was such an epic battle here last year, such a back and forth in the way that that game ended. You can't get much better than finishes as far as 2012 is concerned and what we saw there. Boy, is the intensity turned up here. You think 2 years ago, the overtime game, Hayden Murphy running in the overtime score, give Barnstable its first playoff berth in 10 years. Just something special always happens when these two teams get together. I expect something big to happen here. Obviously, they're in different divisions now. They're not playing for one playoff berth anymore. They're both playing for points within their own respective divisions. But boy, it never gets more intense around southeastern Mass than when these two teams get together, huh?
Now, Brennan, it was interesting coming into this year with this Barnstable offense. Nick Peabody moving on, obviously. He had some pieces there with Hayden Murphy in the backfield. Didn't know quite where he was going to be, but Christian Lukashensky has really kind of emerged here in the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, moving him full-time to quarterback after the DY losses worked them wonders. In 5 games this year, Barnstable has had 18 plays of 20 yards or more and 5 plays of 50 yards or more. That's a pretty impressive clip for such a short window. Just goes to show you just what a dynamic offense this is, and they're not afraid to go vertical. They like to stretch teams vertically. They develop some great route combinations, and they have some receivers who can make plays in space. I'm going to show a couple plays here. We'll talk about the vertical passing game in just 1 second here. If you want to take a look at the film here. We're going to look at this one first here from the Zavarian game. Going to see an empty formation here, strength to the left. They're going to have a 5-man rush with Noah Sorrento coming up late on the blitz. He doesn't get picked up. That forces Lukashensky to scramble. Colby Blaze comes leaking across the field on the post route. That was a 50-yard completion that set up the game-winning field goal. And this is going to be a post wheel at the top of your screen here. Outside guy's going to run a post. Inside guy, Hayden Murphy, is going to run a wheel route behind him. It's a popular route combination with this type of offense. No safety help over the top. Murphy just gets the jump ball here. Great individual play of athleticism, as you'll continue to see as I show these clips. This one here, we're going to go to the Marshfield game. Another empty formation. Murphy's going to run a chair route, kind of a stop and go. And Lukashensky has a scramble a bit, but he resets his feet near the sideline. Great throw downfield. That was a big gain for Barnstable. And then this one here, trips to the left. Lukashensky is going to call an audible here at the line. Mike Bilodeau in one-on-one coverage, gets outside leverage, and gets behind him for the touchdown catch. So as you can see, it's not just one player in particular. It's a whole combination of players, and the way that they work in space really stresses the defense. The pass defense for Bridgewater-Raynham is going to have to bring their A game this week.
Speaking of that Bridgewater-Raynham defense, let's get a look at it right here. Here with Devin Morris. Now, Devin, when you take a look at this Barnstable offense, a lot of the same concepts are there, but slightly different packaging, I guess you could say, this year. But we talked a lot about the fourth quarter of last year's game. I think their ground game really came to bear. What can you learn from that experience last year to be applied to here and this game coming Friday?
Well, we just got to look at the film last year. We got to find out how to stop it, obviously. Hayden Murphy, big running back. He's a big player. Yeah. Make big plays, obviously. So it's going to be our goal to stop him this week, definitely. And hope we can do it.
But also, in addition to that, being able to run in between the tackles, they're also able to extend the play downfield and have a lot of big play potential, too. When you look at their very deep, talented receiving core, what do you see as the strengths there?
Well, their passing game is really good, too. But I think our secondary, Isaiah Bell, big kid. He'll make the plays. I know he will. And we just got to stop it. Their running play and their passing play is the same. They're both really good, so got to stop it.
Talking about your secondary group, I think particularly week 2 against Duxbury, that was a really big week. You guys had some really key and some big third down, fourth down situations, some stops over there. Do you feel like, of course, coming off week 1 against St. John's Prep, which was a huge win of itself, but did you guys feel like you kind of started to come together at that point early on in the season and just been kind of rolling here?
Yeah, we definitely came together. We're a family out there defensively, and the secondary is going to step up big. Isaiah, Gavin, Theo Barbetto, he's a big kid. Mike Morano, I love them all, and I'm very confident they can do it. I really am.
What do you talk about a rivalry game like this. Turnovers came to be a huge part of the narrative there last year. Just what do you think could be some X factors to success, and what you guys really need to do to come away with a W here on Friday?
Well, we got to catch the balls. We got to get picks. We got to turn it over definitely, and we got to make big plays. They're a big play team. They can make big plays at any time, and we got to turn it over when we can. Definitely.
Yeah. Thanks very much, Brendan. Let's now take a look at Derek Estes. Obviously, we've talked about this Barnstable secondary quite a bit too, but also brings a dynamic element to the passing game as well.
Yeah, I wanted to point this kid out in particular. He made our midseason All-State team as a defensive back, and you see him in coverage. He really bottles up their best players and takes them for a ride the whole game. 3 interceptions, 27 tackles. That speaks for itself. But on offense, he is the most dynamic vertical threat, I think, of all the receivers. He's averaging 27.7 yards a catch. So when you break that down, that's pretty much a threat to get a home run every time they throw the ball up to him. It's pretty impressive. Let's go to the tape here. I want to show a couple plays here. This first one against Severian, look at this, zero coverage, trips to the right, and Estes is on an island by himself with Mekhi Henderson, the talented freshman DB. Comes off the line, gets outside leverage, no safety help there, just goes up and gets it. What a great play. And that started the rally that had the great comeback there. This next one against BC High, again, look at Estes on an island, one high safety shaded to the trip side. He's going to run a sluggo route here. The DB actually makes great recovery here, but Estes, he's such a well-conditioned athlete. He gets separation and is off to the races. Actually going to go to the Marshfield game last week here. Get empty man coverage. Going to have Hayden Murphy and Derek Estes on the same side. Murphy, the inside receiver, is going to run a whip route. Estes initially doesn't get the outside leverage he wants, works his man inside, then goes back out again. It's actually great coverage by the DB there, but he just gets just enough separation to make this 30-yard catch. Then the next play, very next play, it's just going to be a jump ball to the back pylon. Look at that leaping ability. Just a great individual effort there, a feat of athleticism there for Estes. He really is a dynamic player. I'm curious to see what kind of game plan they come up with him. Do they bracket him and sacrifice maybe giving up the big plays to Blaze, to Murphy? It could be a pick your poison here, but talk about an individual player that can just burn you for the entire length of the game.
And take a look at this Trojans passing attack here, which has come quite a long way here in the last couple of years. Their quarterback, Matt Clement. No, Matt, coming into this matchup, when you look at this Red Raiders defense, a lot of change for them up front, but that secondary has really been a staple for them. A lot of the same characters that you saw back there last year, a very athletic group. But just what do you see from them when you look at them on film?
Always athletic, always an athletic group of kids, and we get to execute on our part in offense and hopefully outman them and hopefully make less mistakes, I guess you could say that. Yep. And, yeah. Should be good.
When you look at back to last year, again, a lot of this, I don't think there's any secrets between these teams. Probably come out with a couple different wrinkles here, as we've always seen in the last couple of years. But talk about the intangibles of this matchup. This has become really, I think, one of the best rivalries south of Boston that you see year in, year out. Does it change at all with the playoff scenario this year? Obviously, whoever's going to pretty much win this game will be OCL champions. But does it change the dynamic at all of this game on Friday?
Absolutely not. I mean, this game is – everyone looks forward to Barnstable Week every year.
Yep.
I mean, they were unbelievable last year. I mean, we weren't, obviously. We were a little weaker last year, and we came out and gave them a hell of a game last year. Lost by 2, I think. Then before that, lost them overtime. And this game means everything. I mean, this is OCL championship. We lost 2 years. We're hungry. We deserve this win, so got to get after it.
Talking about your rushing attack here, when you guys are able to run the ball consistently, that really helps open things up for you downfield in the passing game, being able to roll out all those elements. What does Brandon mean to this offense in that regard, and how you're able to build off of that with the passing game?
Brandon means everything on this offense. I mean, if we can't run the ball, we can't pass it. They have to appreciate the run. Then we got to use our play action, which has been great for us lately, and we just got to do that. And of course, the offensive line got to give them a shout out because they're working their butt off, and Brandon's doing great. Brandon runs the ball, I can pass the ball, even offense, touchdowns.
Speaking of that offensive line, though, you've kind of haven't had your full complement of guys back here, starting to get back to that point where you're all healthy. But just talk about some of the guys that have stepped up and really filled some holes for you here in recent weeks.
Yeah, ever since week 1, we lost our big tackle, Sean Whitaker, with a concussion, and younger guys have been stepping up. They've been unbelievable going down to St. John's and being able to step up in such a big atmosphere. But, yeah, we haven't had our full potential, our senior big line that everyone talks about and whatever. But step by step, week by week, everyone's getting healthy, and hopefully we'll be able to stay ready for playoffs.
Thanks very much, Matt. Now, Brennan, let's take a look. We mentioned Hayden Murphy off the top here. He's really been a dynamic athlete in this state for the last couple of years, but really, probably one of the better north-south runners that you'll find in the state this year.
Yeah, absolutely. A great straight line runner. Some guys are more elusive. Hayden just has that straight line speed. It's like it's like he's running a track meet out there sometimes. And we mentioned last week about Lowell and the way that they will package, some screens or some route combinations on the backside of zone read plays. You see a little bit there with Barnstable. Now, I don't know if that's just a red herring to get guys out of the box, but it's pretty effective. As I mentioned, gets guys out of the box. It also makes the linebackers think a little bit. Sometimes you're hoping that they don't take their gap responsibility and they open some running lanes, and that's what we see here. I'm going to show a couple plays here in the running game. These are all Murphy plays, but I should mention Justice Chafee's having a great season as well. Let's go to the film here. First play here is going to be against BC High. Watch top of your screen. Slot receiver is going to backpedal off the line of scrimmage. Look at what that does to the linebackers. Puts them in a bit of a bind. They don't fill their gas properly. And Murphy, meanwhile, just flies upfield for the touchdown. And we'll go here last week to Marshfield. Look at the slot receiver again, setting up the flare screen. The defensive end here looks like he's just kind of going to sit, but he's going to get swallowed up. Great blocking up front. And then look at this here at the end of the play after this big run. Nice punch at the end of this play. Pretty good stiff arm there, I'd say, huh? Then this next play here against Marshfield. Look at here again, the screen action, but the defense doesn't bite. However, look at this great double team on the backside defensive tackle. That opens up a running lane for Murphy, and he just takes off and outruns the secondary. It's really going to test the discipline of a defense, whether they stay at home, and if they stay at home, do they actually put it on the perimeter? It's kind of they're really going to be stretched up in the front seven. I'm curious to see just what they do and if there's anything beyond that. Do they package it? Do they screen it? Do they go vertical? They can do a lot of different things here. I'm curious to see how BR tries to neutralize this.
And while misdirection is sometimes a ploy in Barnstable's ground game, BR, you pretty much know what you're getting here, and a lot of that reason is why this man coming up right here, Brandon Gallagher. Now, Brandon, talk about the guys in front of you here. You really haven't had a full complement of perhaps your true starting line here, but you guys have been making do in the last couple of weeks. Just talk about some of those guys that have stepped up to fill some roles, and then you get Sean Whitaker back last couple of weeks, get back. Do you guys feel like you're finally just kind of getting your feet under you in regards to this running game now?
Yeah, we had a couple injuries that kind of provoked everybody from being back, but it was real nice last week to have everybody kind of getting back in the mix of things. But the people who stepped up have really just fulfilled anything that they could have possibly done. Yeah. So it's been nice to have those kids step up and everything, but having everybody back now is nice.
Now, when you look at this Barnstable team, obviously a little bit different from the team you saw last year, but you guys know what's pretty much coming at you here. But their ability to run the ball has perhaps been an underrated aspect of that team the last couple of years. When you look at their team, from the defensive standpoint here, what makes their ground game so effective?
Their line and just Hayden Murphy in general. I mean, he can run the ball. Yeah. And so he's a tough kid, and we've been watching in film just the way that they get onto the blocks and they make sure that everybody's sealed off and everything is pretty impressive.
We talked to Matt Clement, your quarterback kid that's really, I think, stepped in and played very admirably here through the first half plus of the season here. What kind of strides have you seen him make from the preseason, into the regular season, into this point here today?
Oh, it's been miles. I mean, coming into the year, everyone was kind of questioning if he had it in him to do what everybody needs him to do, and he's just proved every single person wrong. That he's come in, and even from week one, I mean, there's nothing like getting the game experience. So when he got that game experience week in and week out, he's been absolutely killing it.
And one thing personally we've been talking about here for a little while, saw a couple times in the Duxbury game, one of the few, I think, remaining programs here that has the confidence in their running back to go and leap over the line on goal line situations. When did you first, was that a scary situation for you at all, trying that out for the first time? And how did you get into doing that to the point where, Coach Buron felt confident in you being able to pull that off in game action?
Last year, I think against Barnstable was actually the first time that it happened, where I just kind of saw that I had to get in, so I just kind of took a leap, and then it happened again in Stoughton last year. So those first few times, I didn't really jump the right way that I should have probably last year, but I was kind of watching how to do it and everything, and the few times I've done it this year, I got stopped once, which coach was mad after I did that. But after getting the game experience of just being able to see where the hole is to jump and where not to jump, has really helped out.
Thanks very much, Brandon. Now, obviously, with that, once BR gets that ground game established, we know what they're coming with next. Quarterback's rolling out there, looking downfield. Brennan, let's break this down.
It's absolutely no secret, probably the worst kept secret in the world, what BR likes to do in the passing game. They like to wag, they like to pull those guards, like to set up play action inside, and then extend the play to the sideline and put 3 different levels out there and make the defense pick 2, essentially. I'm going to show you a couple plays here where this is going to be a first week against St. John's Prep when they upset then #1 Eagles. Brandon Gallagher was having a heck of a running game, and that did wonders for the passing game. This first play right here is the touchdown here to Ryan Martin. Watch as I set up the dive inside to Gallagher. Ryan Martin on the outside is going to run a sluggo down the right sideline, makes that easy catch, and he's got the burners, and he puts it on for a touchdown. Then this next play right here. Now, this is an interesting thing they do here. Brandon Gallagher is pretty good at diving over the top of the without getting seriously injured or fumbling the ball.
That's always important.
It's a bit of an underrated trait here. So watch, Gallagher is going to dive over the top, and it's hard not to sell out on that when you see something like that coming. But watch Arcel Armstead, the up back here, slips out of the backfield untouched into the flat for an easy touchdown catch. Yeah. It's going to be hard. Again, we talk about the discipline with Barnstable and defending that. It's going to take a lot of discipline for these Barnstable linebackers. I think they're really going to be put to the test this week, trying to defend not only a running game, but it's a passing game as well.
And finally, to wrap up the matchup here, with the head coach, Dan Buron. Dan, it's Barnstable week here. Obviously, intensity ratcheted up here at practice, but I don't think a lot of secrets between these two sides. Obviously, probably see a couple different wrinkles here from either side here coming in. But just, grand scheme here, when you look at this Barnstable team, what do you see?
Just another great Barnstable team, no different. That, maybe running the ball a little bit more. Hayden Murphy's the guy we got to stop, and that didn't do that last year. They got some, everybody thought they were going to be down, but they're as good as they have been. So it's a great rivalry. It's turned into, over the years, a great league rival, obviously. And, we've been on the short end of 3 out of the last 4 of them. So we got our hands full. I mean, I think everything's the same. They're going to, they're a big play team. Best way to stop them is keep the ball away from them. So there'll be no secrets. I mean, I think we know what they're doing. They know what we're doing. He probably knows what we're doing better than we do. So he's been able to stop us the last couple of years. So, no, it's been exciting, I think, games to watch. 2 years ago, overtime. Last year, we fought back, got into it, 2-point loss. So I wouldn't expect anything different. I mean, I think people are going to get their money's worth, that's for sure.
I think some of the things we saw last year in the fourth quarter here from them are things that they've kind of brought back in different ways here. Obviously, Nick Peabody was a big arm quarterback like that last year, but as you mentioned, Hayden Murphy was really I think a factor there in that running game. What do they do up front with their linemen that makes it so difficult to stop them in the ground game?
Well, they spread you out. They spread you thin, and the linemen are very well coached. They just get on guys, and you don't have to give Hayden Murphy much room, and he's going to find that little seam, and that's the whole idea with the spread offense. So, we got to be disciplined and not pick sides or whatever. And but they're good at it. I mean, and he was good last year, and he's got to be one of the leading rushers in the state. He's had some big numbers. They're beating some quality teams too. It isn't like they're not playing anybody there. I mean, they didn't duck anybody either. So, I mean, in all honesty, they got to be. In my opinion, they got to be favored over us. I don't know. You guys set the all the. The lines and things like that. I know nobody's going to believe me when I say that, but, they've beaten Zavarian, and we didn't, come close. They've beaten BCI. They'd be leading the Catholic Conference right now if they were in that. But, no, they're well coached. Chris does a great job. His staff, we really are going to have our hands full. I'm not just saying that. I mean, it should be a great game. I think, we're getting better each week, but we've got to be able to stop them. You watch them, and they did to us last year. Boom, break a big run or break a big pass. Just when you think you might have them figured out, all of a sudden, boom, they find a weakness, and nobody can relax on defense for sure with that type of an offense. So, fortunately, we played some spread teams, and I think done okay this year. But it's helped us prepare for this.
Obviously, this year with the new playoff system, things are a little bit different. But what hasn't really changed is that this has been very much a kind of a winner-go-home kind of game. How much has that helped, perhaps exacerbate, inflame, if you will, whatever the word is, this rivalry that has really kind of, I think, become one of the best, south of Boston year in, year out?
I agree. It's a great rivalry. This is my 21st year, and I don't know how many years now that the Barnstable will be our game. Probably the winner was the outright champ. When we were in a bigger league, you still had to go on a win, but the loser certainly didn't win the championship. So what we're doing, we broke our season into 3 segments, if you will. First 4 games were what I call preseason, getting us ready, getting us tested. The second stint here is the Old Colony League, which we just beat Dartmouth, a pretty good team in their own right, in Barnstable. So our main goal every year is to win the Old Colony League. Now it's playoffs. That's gives us added incentive. I believe we're probably going to make the playoffs, win or lose. I think if we do win, it would help our seeding, keep us at a high seed. I think looking at the numbers right now, I haven't really looked too closely at it, but that's kind of that's extra. That's the icing on the cake, so to speak. We want to win the Old Colony League championship, and we want to beat Barnstable. I mean, they've had the upper hand the last few years, and they deserve it. I mean, they're a good program. They've always been a great program. Like I said, I've been coaching here a long time, and that game, believe me, we pencil it on our calendar, early in the year, and I guarantee you they're doing the same thing down there. I think there's a lot of respect between both programs. Our kids play each other a lot in youth, growing up, and we know each other fairly well. So, again, I'm just expecting a hard-fought battle, and should be a great game. The team probably that makes the fewest mistakes or turnovers or whatever, probably going to win this.
Thanks very much, Coach. Now all we've left to do is to pick 'em and perhaps stick 'em.
Best part of the show.
Isn't it always, folks? Let's get it rolling. Brennan, obviously some key conference games coming up here this weekend. Start with Friday night, huge one in the Catholic Conference. This really is going to really shape out the race down there. St. John's Prep traveling to BC High.
Yeah, I think BC High has really improved the last couple of weeks, and they put together a couple nice wins. The Brockton one, now it might have been the most impressive win of the year, 6-0. And Prep is a much different look than what they were before Johnny Thomas got hurt, obviously. I'm wondering how much they kind of stretch the perimeter with Jake Burt and some of the receivers. I think it's going to be a back-and-forth battle. I think it's going to be a really tight battle. And I think Prep comes away in the end, but it's going to be close, 28-27.
It's just been trending this way in the last couple of weeks. You think back to that BC High Brockton defensive slugfest where they held them to 122 yards. Cody Harwood's really done a fine job picking up the slack, I think, for the Eagles of St. John's Prep, that is. But I'm going to go with BC High because I've picked against them probably a couple times this year when I shouldn't have, so I've learned my lesson.
There's
Eagles
no quote
Nation.
That goes unnoticed by these BC High kids, huh?
No, there is not. And I'm going to call it BC High 10-7. Let's take a look at the Hockomock League. The Cali Rex, man, this could really be the game of the year in that division. We've been talking about it for a couple of weeks now, but this Mansfield offense and the King Phillip defense, something's got to give here.
Yeah, this KP linebacker course is among the best in the state.
Yep.
They're going to figure out a way to neutralize this Mansfield spread attack. Brian Lee calls a terrific defensive game. They have a lot of unique packages that you don't really see out of a typical high school defense, and a lot of that is the versatility of Brett McAvoy and Joe Johnston in the linebacker course. But still, Mike Redding is the master of out-scheming the schemers, as he's proven all year, from the first win against Dunbar to the last couple, Taunton, North Attleboro, etc. He just knows how to carve up the right game plan and call the right plays. I think Mansfield escapes here with a 13-6 win.
I think the key here for Mansfield is really going to be shutting down Joe Johnston, who's really been running roughshod all over the Hockomock League so far this season. If they can do that, I think they'll be in fine form here. We'll call it for the Hornets 21-13. Let's go to the MVC. We've talked about Tewksbury all season long here, but this is really kind of put up or shut up time with Haverhill coming in. This is a really big one.
I'd like to point something out here. I watched the Methuen Tewksbury game last week. First half alone, do you know how many formations Tewksbury ran?
I'm going to go with a lot.
16.
Okay.
And it wasn't just, a simple, move a guy here or there. It was from the widest spectrum as possible. Yep. You had a spread quad formation, you had trips, tray, and then you had a single wing look, the Notre Dame box. You've seen Nasser run that. Which
isn't French, by the way.
Right. You've seen some gun heavy. You see a lot of different stuff. Some wing tee, some pistol, Delaware wing tee, like Air Force runs. Yeah. How do you game plan for something like this? And especially with the stable of running backs they got, we talk about having 2 or 3 good running backs. They could really give the ball to 4 or 5 kids and really be fine. I just don't know how you game plan for something like this, something so unique that you only see once a year. Yeah. And aside from that, they got a hell of a secondary, don't they? Yeah. Sullivan and then Matova at linebacker has put in a heck of a year. I see Tewksbury winning this one, 35-21.
Yeah, Coach Aylward, obviously the coach of the week this week, has been, just a breath of fresh air with that program. And I think they've, again, we've been picking them since I think, day one here this year, but no time to dither here with the Redmen. I'm going to call it 31-24. Man, in the Middlesex, 2 undefeateds here. This is going to be a really great one. Should be a real black and blue pounder of a game. Woburn, Arlington.
Yeah, 5-0 versus 5-0. Yep. You think that? You think Reading's involved in here somewhere, but wow, how is that not happening? But Arlington put together one of the biggest upsets, I think, of the early season, upsetting Reading last month, and they've got some nice athletes, but I don't think they're going to see a player as dynamic as Marvin Jean in their schedule. The Woburn, multifaceted athlete, and I think there's a difference here. Woburn wins 26-15.
Ooh, Colin, I like it. A little question, I think, last week. Arlington seemed to struggle a little bit with Winchester. Obviously get pulled out the win there late, held on, but again, I think there's just something special going on with the Spy Ponders team, and it's going to be a real low-scoring affair. I'm going to call it 14-7 for Arlington. Let's take a quick jaunt out west. Probably the biggest game of the weekend out there. Agawam, again, rolling opposition week in, week out. It's travel to an intriguing team with South Hadley with some real big bodies up front.
Yeah, they got an interesting prospect there. They talk about Josh Hooper, the big lineman. But there's a couple big guys they got over there, and they run that pistol offense. It's a unique scheme they run out of that. This is a bit of a kind of a snake hiding in the grass, I think, a little bit for Agawam. Obviously riding high ever since they beat Longmeadow the way they did, but. This is a storybook season for Agawam so far. Yeah. Especially when 2 years ago you consider they got smoked by Putnam, 66-0. Yeah. Okay, quite a turnaround here for Agawam. You got to go over the story here. Give me Agawam 24-13.
Yeah, going to keep going with the Brownies here until they let one up here. It's been tough for them in the last couple of weeks, but I think they keep rolling along. Call it by a score of 27-20. Let's go to Central Mass. Neshoba, man, after they come off that winning streak, had a couple tough weeks here, and it doesn't get any easier with a trip to Leominster this weekend.
Yeah, if there's any statement Leominster has made bigger this season than what they did against Doherty in the second half, I haven't seen it. Outscored the Highlanders 37-7 in the second half after being down 19-10 at the half. Yeah. And honestly, that Doherty team is no slouch. They're one of the top teams in Central Mass. Yep. They have Division I college commitments. That was a big statement for them, as big as the Lowell game or the St. John's game was. I don't see how you have a letdown after a game like that. Yeah. They're going to carve up something special again. Give me Leominster winning this one, 28-17.
Really liked the efforts of James Grelly last week. I thought he was a big difference for the Blue Devils there. And just doing the little things on defense, couple passes defended, interception at the end to kind of seal it there. I think he'll be a factor again this week as well. I'm going to call it 32-21 for Leominster. Let's go to Saturday, perhaps the ISL game of the week this week. Lawrence Academy, and we've talked about St. Sebastian's coming into the season. Milton Academy has been really the class of that league. But this Nobles team is nothing to slouch at.
They really flew under the radar with all the talk about all the other schools in the ISL and all of their prospects and everything like that. And Lawrence Academy, that was a tough loss to take to BB&N last week. They needed that one. Yeah. And Nobles, I think, is peaking at the right time here. Ryan Voltaggio, one of the more underrated quarterbacks in that league. I think he has a big game here. Give me Nobles 21-10. Yeah, big dogs got to eat.
Big dogs at the table. And, man, it's, again, as you said, been very underestimated here. But this could be, hey, you never know. Stranger things have happened. Maybe they end up winning this league with the way that the schedule kind of shakes out here down the stretch. I'm going to go with them again, 17-14. And that brings us to our game of the week back here at Bridgewater-Raynham. Of course, our good friends from Sports Authority and Bay State Games will be here. It'll be a great atmosphere as always. I'm sure the caravan will be coming up from Barnstable and the RVs and all that good stuff. Always a great sight.
Great visiting crowd.
Unbelievable. Crowd. Perhaps the best. But all we've left to do here is to pick it. So, Brennan, what do you got?
Yeah, Barnstable has won some nail biters last 2 years. They won a nail biter here last year. I just like the way that this program is going. I think they provide a little bit more versatility than I think that BR can provide. And the big key with Barnstable is when they're down late, they can string together points like nobody else. You saw that Severian game. They were down 2 possessions and won the game. You saw Marshfield; they were down 20-7 and ended up winning going away. I think that's the difference here. I think they can score in bunches, and when they want to pull the trigger, they can really go off. But this is going to be a back-and-forth battle. I expect a couple lead changes in the second half. But in the end, I think the Red Warriors win 3 straight over their old Colony League rivals, 31-28.
Big time. I think in this matchup, you've seen it in the last couple of years, turnovers have really been the difference. Last year, that fourth quarter, a really great, perhaps the best quarter of football we saw all of last year. It was tremendous. But I think turnover battle is going to be wherever this game is won and or lost. That being said, I think BR just finds a way to pull it out on defense here. I really believe in this linebacking core. I think it's been kind of underrated throughout the year. And we're going to go razor thin here in kind of an unconventional score. Let's call it 19-17 for the Trojans. With that, that's going to put a wrap on another week here for the ESPNBoston.com High Schools Preview. I'm Scott Barboza for Brennan Hall. We'll see you next week.